Hello and welcome to the Guild Academy. I totally live under this table. No, I'm kidding, I seriously don't. Maybe I do. That's a very good question for all of you to ponder out there while I talk about these helmet videos. So, today we are getting to helmets. These are not bowling balls, shockingly. I actually have several of these, and there are many makers that you can go through. Right now we're using primarily Absolute Force, and I have one of my own, the Blue Gauntlet. I'm going to talk a little bit about how these guys work, and you saw some of these at the beginning of the video as well. But I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of what we started with. First and foremost, we end up with this guy. Okay, there are some problems with this helmet. Mostly that there is no back strap on this, and it's also from the 1970s. The mask has been dented and beaten because it's been 4 years, and this is mostly just for training. We don't use this for sparring anymore. The tongue's starting to fray underneath here, and you have the bib, which is mostly just vinyl. It's not even cloth at this point because it's an older type of mask. We've had to fix these a number of times, and we finally ended up getting more masks. The next mask that we ended up with is our Absolute Force. Now, I appreciate Absolute Force for its awesome sturdiness. However, it seems to be pretty much the standard. The PBT masks that we've seen, we've had a couple of our ranked members also use those. First time out of the gate in sparring match, collapsed immediately. He had to go buy, you guessed it, an Absolute Force. So, Absolute Force we keep large mostly, and that fits the majority of our scholars, but it would help to have some of the other smaller masks on hand. That's what this guy is. This is a medium. It's supposed to be my personal mask. It sort of works, it doesn't really stay on. I'm probably going to do some modifications. We'll talk about some of that. That's why you see all these crazy things on the table in front of me instead of just the masks. So this has the standard wraparound, which has the rubber, which goes all the way around the head. It's good, a really pleasant stitching on there. Large doesn't fit me, I found out. Things that you want to keep in mind when you're buying any of your masks is to ensure that you're getting something that is appropriate fit. I have a medium mask, and you can modify these to some extent. If your face is a little bit shorter or whatever, you can squish these in and it will flex because it's just wire mesh. They will get beaten up. It's going to be how it works with these. So you're going to replace these probably every 2 or 3 years, something in that range. Some masks last longer, depends on how you're using them or abusing them. These are Academy masks, so they're going to be abused horrifically. So they're in and outdoors, they're being thrown around, they get knocked off, so on and so forth. But in the Absolute Force mask, unlike the original mask that you saw what we started with without the back strap of the head, this one has it, and it's just a nice Velcro connection here. Your tongue is a lot stronger here and not broken, and then you also have a stronger reinforced mesh back here. This is not as reinforced and missing that strap. And like I said, this is vinyl, whereas the Absolute Force masks have a nice cloth interior. They are not removable, so you will need to buy what we normally have as our Clorox wipes, and those are what solve all of our problems for reasons of sterility, so that it doesn't end up getting all nasty and we don't start sharing all sorts of sicknesses. So, want to wipe those guys down. The other thing that you want to keep in mind for steel combat reasons, that you don't see on this mask, it's actually in my car at the moment, is this cool little black hood. It looks awesome, it fits well. This one's about 90 bucks. It's from PBT Fencing. They did very well with this one. It's a nice suede cover and it gives you back the head protection. It's basically just some foam with some cardboard on it. And that cardboard is not super strong, and that's how I ended up upgrading to my other mask. So I will take this off real quick just so you can take a look at this. In this, you just have some foam padding, which gives you a little bit more shock protection from the top of the head down, as well as on the sides of this also. There's 3 holes on the side of the covering to help you hear because it gets a little bit quiet in here when this is on. It also gets really hot, which is why I upgraded in my mask to what I have in there now. So this aside, my mask is the Blue Gauntlet. The Blue Gauntlet mask is, you can find these in a variety of places. I found mine on eBay, and it came with a host of problems, but I wanted something that was a project for me to work on. This, again, you'll see with this cloth lining instead of this vinyl, which is awful. The other thing that you might notice is this weird shiny thing on the back and this crazy strapping system. That is actually the back of head protection that I am using, that I developed myself. It's crude, it's effective, it works. I want to remind everybody, whenever you have sharp edges, roll the edges, put some cloth on it. It works for me, it doesn't work for everybody. I have a lot of big hair, so I can get away without having padding. I will eventually add that in the future. So, like the other masks, I have the same back of the head elastic here, which is nice and strong, but my tongue, as you can see, is busted. So this thing is very flappy, it does not stay in place. The Absolute Force ones, however, do stay in place. And see, if I tug on this, it stays where it needs to be, and that's what's supposed to hold your head in place. On mine, the tongue is broken, so I had to resolve that. And the way I did that is with this back of the head protection here, which is connected by this strap. This strap goes around and is riveted into the mask by a Chicago screw. So I will undo this guy here. It's just a buckle. I used a really thick leather initially, and that didn't work out so great. I don't know if I can take off the back of the head entirely because it's pretty stuck in there. But underneath, you'll see that I have this metal protector. It's just aluminum. It's a aluminum square sheet from Home Depot for $6. They are super cheap and they are really easy to work on. However, you're going to need some tools to do this with. I needed to round this on the interior of my head first, and I had to cut a line. As you can see, this right here, there's a cut right there, as well as matching on this, and there's two more at the top of the head. So I have a line cut at the top of my skull, and one right about the middle part of my skull, and that helped me form the shape into what I needed to make this work. I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a second. I want to show you some more of the features of the inside of the Blue Gauntlet. The Blue Gauntlet fits a lot better, in my opinion. They have rubber rings here for the ears so that the mesh, the cloth doesn't move around as much, and it stays a lot more sturdy. I feel like this is a lot more protective foam and padding than the Absolute Force mask, but that's just my opinion of that. The chin part, which is right, I don't know if you can even see that. The part of the chin is right here, and it's a little bit longer than the Absolute Force, so it forms a little bit better. This also was dented mesh, and I had to resolve that with a hammer, which is somewhere floating around here at this point. But this, as you can see, just slips in and out. It's a very easy connection, and it's easily repairable, and you can change it, and there are a lot of ways you can create back of the head protection. I just didn't want to spend the $90 on the back of the head protection there, and I wanted something a little more rigid. Cloth and foam, steel. This is going to be a lot less dangerous in my opinion. I did round these edges with a ball peen hammer, as well as a rubber camp mallet and a 2x4. And it seems to work out very well. I have to change out the Chicago screws because of the fact that they're a little bit too long for the metal itself. Same goes for the mask because I need to use a different type of strapping. I used a Latigo strapping, which is just saddle leather. You can find that in any Tandy leather. You can find it on eBay. You want to go with a Latigo that's a thinner thickness, so that way you aren't stuck with a giant wad of leather. The reason that comes important is the buckle. If it's too thick of leather, and you can kind of see it on this mask, I'll set that right there for you guys to see. This right here was the original that I used, which was a 10-ounce leather, and it was way too thick for this buckle to work. So you notice there's two different colors. This one's thinner with the buckle. I tried it with the original leather that I had, and it didn't work out so great. So I had to move to a thinner strapping, and it worked a lot better, and it lasts a lot longer because it's Latigo, and it's designed for reins and saddles and that kind of thing. So from the shaping of this, the back and head protection on this, I have some rounded edges that I still need to work on, and the way I did that, and to shape some of this a little bit easier to cut through that aluminum, I'll move this over here. I used two different tools. First, this was to give me some of the drill holes to put in the Chicago screws, or rivets. Rivets are going to be more permanent, and you're going to have to break through those if the piece ever breaks, things like that. That's why I use the Chicago screws, so I could change things out or form it better, or if it gets bent, I can replace it easy. The way that I changed it for the mask to cut through that stainless steel is an angle grinder. This is just a Ryobi angle grinder. I really love this thing. It was super cheap. It was like $35. You aren't going to use this thing all day. It totally could overheat. I tried to cut through steel street signs, and it sort of works. But the steel street sign basically chewed up all of my discs to cut through. And that's what this thing here is. This is actually a grinding wheel. It has a much thicker profile to it than the cutting discs. Cutting discs are thinner and designed to cut through metal. This won't go all day. DeWalt will, Black & Decker will, but Ryobi will not. Ryobi, you'll have to take breaks, and you'll need them anyways because there's a lot of kickback with this angle grinder. Thing that's good about my Ryobi is that this handle actually removes and can be positioned here. It can also be positioned here, so there's 3 different places to be positioned. You'll really want to crank this down and check before you run the the angle grinder. always check your tools, always make sure you know when it's plugged in, who's plugged it in, whether or not it's on. Use ear protection, use eye protection. This will throw sparks, especially from this aluminum back of the head. But this is what causes, this grinding wheel is what I'm using to grind down these sharp edges and to get a better bevel in there as well. You can get away with just rounding the steel edges with a hammer and mallet and 2x4, but this is the more professional option, I suppose. Less historic, I don't care. I need something to protect the back of my head. So the way these discs look, they're these guys. They also have an expiration date, so mind that when you buy these that you're going to use them because they don't last forever. It has something to do with it being semi-organic in nature. I don't really know what that means. That's what Home Depot said. So I would tend to listen to them and I would also pay attention to your dates. You don't want one of these during use to explode and go everywhere. You'll also need a set of drill bits. Notice I don't have a ton here. Most of them are scattered around the hall from sheer frustration of cutting through all of this stuff and drilling all of these holes. You can drill through the masks pretty easily. The steel was a little bit less friendly with that. So you'll need quite a bit of power. So this is my old cutting wheel that I used. You see the profile here. This one versus a grinding wheel. Grinding wheel, cutting wheel, much thinner. This used to be this radius. See how small this thing is? This is from just the use of cutting this aluminum and cutting out a steel street sign. That is really how much use you can get on one of these. There's a lot of power going through these. This is now unsafe to use because if I use it and it explodes, now you have flying shrapnel that's also hot and superheated. Change your disc, make sure you have enough to do the job with, and don't skip on these things. These are like $3. You can buy a bunch of these, don't worry about it. They're easily replaceable. This is an example of how the aluminum started from. It's just got, there's the tag still, right? You can see all my cuts. These are my test cuts to see how the drilling works, and it's good to have a piece like this. I can add this as part of the shell if I want to in the future, but it also gives me a good test cutting medium. I also have this incredible box of tools. The box of tools that we have, I used a chisel to cut some of the leather apart, which I actually used to build Pell, which is over there. I also have replacement Velcro. This is good for anybody to have. It's good to repair the Velcro on these. It's good to repair the Velcro on the straps on the mask. Velcro is amazing. Before you sew anything to this thing, one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that when you get the elastic band to put the Velcro on, this will fray. So stitch this shut before you stick this to here, okay? When you stick this just to the elastic band, the problem becomes you can't sew through glue. This is industrial strength. So when you put this together, you can't sew through it. So sew this shut first, make sure your edges aren't fraying. Then put this on and find, I don't know, something magical, I guess, a really awesome sewing machine to sew through all of these. You also want a nice pair of gloves. These are pretty tatty because I've used them a lot. I caught them on fire many times from my interesting projects. A pair of scissors is also very helpful to have. These are cloth scissors. I also would recommend getting leather shears as well. I don't think they're in this box right now. The other thing that I use to punch through these masks is I use just a tiny little flathead screwdriver, actually, and I just ran this through, rotated it around, and eventually it freed open the space, which gave me enough room to put in the Chicago screw. Towels are always good to have. A leather punch is also good to have, and a screw. Screws are fantastic, especially for these masks. This is a 3/4 inch screw, and it will go right through the mesh of this, which is fantastic because you can actually just screw this through the mask to a board, and it would stay in place because this actually bites into the mesh of the mask very well. 3/4 inch wood screw, that's what I use. Washers are also good to have. I have a whole host of these, and these would replace the washers on the Pell over there. There's also other bits and bobs that I have in this box that help keep me with enough tools to handle the masks or whatever thing I'm creating. Whether it's signs, Pells, masks, back of the head protection, additional straps, that kind of thing. Having tools is going to help you a lot. So, we have an old mask from the 1970s that is dented and beaten up. Remember to replace those guys every 3 or 4 years, or whenever you see the deformation of the front of the mask and it doesn't pass that 12 kilogram punch test. I think it's 12 kilograms, correct me if I'm wrong. And then we went to the absolute force masks, which are pretty good de facto standard. Remember to get those shaped to your head. Measure your head first. It's going to measure from around the top of the crown of your head before you order the mask. You might think you need a large, you probably need a medium. Then you'll need back head protection for steel protection for the back of the head. I opted this is a PBT version. There's a bunch of them out there. I see a lot of really good options. I like Spez's back to head protection, but it leaves a bit of a gap at the top of the skull. So right here, there's a bit of a gap. So I also recommend, if you feel like taking on a project, get something from eBay. This thing was 30 bucks. It was really cheap. It was easy to get a hold of. It shipped really fast. Varying degrees of success on eBay, as you well know. Make sure that you're using Latigo if you're doing any sort of replacement of straps and that kind of thing. Standard dispensing masks, these guys were $55. And the one that are HEMA-friendly that have the removable liners are $65. I put a link below to that website as well so you can get a hold of the mask for yourself. And make sure, wear your helmet. It really needs your eyes. They aren't replaceable. Get some tools around to help repair masks. Whenever tournaments happen, you're going to be breaking stuff. Schools are going to break stuff, so always have a set of tools available. Rudimentary stuff, guys. Not really hard. So, thank you again for watching. Those are our helmets that we've been using. And then we'll talk a little bit about our crochets next week as well. Talk to you next Monday.